The Fifth Element wasn't just a sci-fi movie. It was chaos wrapped in color and madness. But behind the opera and the explosions, it was vision against reality at every turn. Besson wrote it as a teenager and waited decades to build it. The costumes cost more than most films' entire budgets. And Bruce Willis hated every second until he saw the final cut. These are 20 weird facts about The Fifth Element, and hidden inside the flying cabs and the orange hair, it was France invading Hollywood with a fever dream no studio understood. The future wasn't dark. It was neon, loud, and utterly insane. And Luc Besson proved that sometimes the wildest gambles become legends. Number 20. Besson wrote it. At age 16, Luc Besson wrote The Fifth Element in a French high school notebook at age 16. For over 20 years, he carried the story, refining it while making La Femme Nikita and The Professional. Studios called it too weird, too French, too expensive. By 1997, he'd earned enough credibility to demand full creative control. What began as a teenager's fantasy became the most expensive European film ever made. The Fifth Element wasn't a studio product. It was a vision that waited decades to explode. Number 19. Milla Jovovich learned the divine language. Leeloo doesn't speak English for most of the film. She speaks the divine language, an entire constructed language created by Besson and Jovovich. They developed over 400 words with consistent grammar and syntax. Jovovich spent months learning to speak it fluently, even thinking in it between takes. Besson wanted Leeloo to feel truly alien. When Leeloo finally speaks English, it's a character breakthrough. Jovovich didn't just play an alien, she became one. Number 18. Jean-Paul Gaultier designed 1,000 costumes. Fashion designer, Jean-Paul Gaultier created over 1,000 unique outfits for the film. The flight attendants' geometric uniforms, Leeloo's thermal bandages, Ruby Road's animal prints, all Gaultier. The costume budget alone exceeded $2 million. Gaultier treated it like a runway show set in space, refusing to tone down his avant-garde sensibilities. The studio panicked, but those costumes became iconic, influencing fashion and sci-fi design for decades. The Fifth Element didn't just imagine the future, it dressed it. Number 17. Bruce Willis thought it was a disaster. Bruce Willis signed on for the paycheck, not the vision. He thought The Fifth Element sounded like French art house nonsense with lasers. On set, he clashed with Besson's style and struggled with the tone. The absurdity left him convinced it would bomb. Then he saw the final cut and called Besson to apologize. The film he thought was a career mistake became a cult classic. Willis learned that sometimes you have to trust the madman behind the camera. Number 16. Gary Oldman and Bruce Willis never met. Despite being hero and villain, Bruce Willis and Gary Oldman never shared a single scene. They filmed in different locations and never met during production. Oldman's Zorg operates through henchmen, never confronting Corbin Dallas directly. Besson did it deliberately, showing that in a massive universe, conflicts can be abstract. The hero and villain don't need a final showdown. That subversion became one of the Fifth Element's most brilliant quirks. Number 15. The opera scene took months. The opera scene nearly broke production. The alien diva was a complex animatronic operated by actress Mai Wen Lebesco, Besson's wife at the time. The aria blended opera with techno beats in ways human vocal cords can't achieve. Singer Inva Mula performed the possible parts. Impossible notes were synthesized. The fight choreography was timed precisely to music, requiring weeks of rehearsal. Test audiences either loved it or hated it. That polarization proved Besson had created something truly original. Number 14. Chris Tucker improvised everything. Ruby Road wasn't in early scripts. Chris Tucker created the character almost entirely through improvisation, transforming a minor role into the film's most memorable performance. Tucker showed up with his own wardrobe ideas, speech patterns, and manic energy. Besson gave him freedom, and Tucker ran wild. The screaming, the leopard prints, all Tucker. Ruby Road became a cultural phenomenon, quoted endlessly and debated just as much. Love him or hate him, you can't ignore him. Number 13. The CGI nearly bankrupted the studio. The visual effects almost destroyed the production. Digital Domain created the flying taxi chase and massive cityscape using technology so new that renders took days. The budget ballooned from $90 million to over $100 million. The studio threatened to shut it down. Besson mortgaged his house to keep it going. The visuals were stunning but polarizing. Some critics called it too much, a sensory overload. But that maximalism became the film's identity. The Fifth Element didn't do subtlety. Number 12. Milla and Luc fell in love. Luc Besson was married when filming began. By the time it wrapped, he'd left his wife for Milla Jovovich. The on-set romance created tension throughout production. His wife played the diva, singing while her husband fell for his lead actress. Besson and Jovovich married shortly after release, but divorced 2 years later. The Fifth Element became a monument to a doomed romance, its manic energy fueled by backstage chaos. Number 11. The Mondoshawan were men in heavy suits. The Mondoshawan suits weighed over 100 pounds and required 2 crew members to help performers stand. Once inside, actors could barely move, see, or breathe. The slow walk wasn't just design, it was necessity. Each scene took hours because actors needed frequent breaks to avoid passing out. One performer fainted inside and had to be cut out. The Mondoshawan looked ancient on screen. Behind the scenes, they were suffocating monuments to practical effects ambition. Number 10. Zorg's limp was Gary Oldman's idea. Zorg's limp wasn't scripted. Gary Oldman decided the villain should have a physical imperfection to contrast his wealth. He improvised the uneven gait, the cane, and twitchy mannerisms. Oldman also improvised Zorg's plastic hair and the transparent forehead implant. He wanted Zorg to look like a wealthy man desperately clinging to youth. That vanity made Zorg more human and more disturbing. Oldman transformed a generic villain into a grotesque commentary on corporate greed. Number 9. The stones were ancient Egyptian relics. The 4 elemental stones were designed to look like ancient Egyptian artifacts. Besson wanted the mythology rooted in human history. Number 8. Corbin Dallas was almost Mel Gibson. Before Bruce Willis, Mel Gibson was offered the role. Gibson turned it down, calling the script too strange and worrying it would hurt his action hero image. Jean-Claude Van Damme and Sylvester Stallone were also considered. Willis took the role reluctantly, and his everyman skepticism became the character. Corbin Dallas is exhausted, broke, and confused, exactly how Willis felt making the film. That authenticity grounded the chaos. Number 7. It bombed in America, soared worldwide. The Fifth Element opened in the US to mixed reviews and disappointing numbers. American critics called it too European and a mess. It earned only $63 million domestically, but internationally, it exploded. Europe, Asia, and South America embraced it, pushing the worldwide total to over $263 million. The film's visual excess and unapologetic weirdness played better outside America. Besson's refusal to Americanize his vision became its greatest strength. Number 6. The cruise ship scene was miniatures. The massive cruise ship, Flaston Paradise, wasn't CGI. It was a meticulously detailed miniature model over 20 feet long, with working lights and intricate surface details. The explosion used controlled pyrotechnics filmed at high speed. Besson preferred practical effects wherever possible. When the ship explodes, you feel the weight because something real was blown apart. That tangibility made the spectacle more visceral. Number 5. Leeloo's costume caused controversy. Leeloo's thermal bandage costume sparked outrage. Critics accused the film of objectifying Jovovich. Feminist groups protested. Besson defended it, arguing Leeloo was literally reborn and wearing emergency clothing. Jovovich supported the design, saying it made Leeloo vulnerable and otherworldly. The controversy fueled box office curiosity. The costume became iconic, endlessly cosplayed and debated. Whether empowering or exploitative, it made Leeloo unforgettable. Number 4. The film has no Act 2. The Fifth Element structure is bizarre. It has almost no traditional second act. The middle is episodic chaos, Flying cars, police chases, Ruby Road. Traditional screenwriting rules are ignored. Number 3. It inspired countless sci-fi films. The Fifth Element's neon-soaked future became the blueprint for 21st century sci-fi. Blade Runner 2049, Valerian, Ready Player One, all borrowed its visual language. Number 2. Besson wanted a sequel. Luc Besson wrote treatments for a sequel exploring Leeloo's origins. He envisioned a trilogy, but mixed American reception and studio politics killed it. Number 1. It's a love letter to French comics. The Fifth Element is a live-action French comic book. Besson was obsessed with Moebius and Jean-Claude Mézières. He hired Mézières as concept artist, directly translating comic panels to screen. The Fifth Element wasn't just a movie. It was a French fever dream, invading Hollywood and refusing to apologize. Behind the orange hair and opera was chaos, a director filming his teenage fantasy, a star who thought it was a disaster, and a vision so wild it took decades to realize. Besson didn't make a blockbuster. He made a love letter to color, madness, and the belief that the wildest ideas change everything. If The Fifth Element still lives in your head, drop a comment. Tell us your favorite weird fact or what cult classic we should dive into next. Because some movies don't just entertain, they explode in neon, refuse to be normal, and prove that the future doesn't have to be dark. It can be multi-pass.